be
What's the worst gift you could buy someone?
worst
for
gift?
Christmas?
Oh, licorice.
Licorice.
Somebody gets like a gifted liquor. Like, you know how in like you go to a church or something of that nature, or a gathering of elderly individuals, maybe a bingo night. There's always an old lady or maybe an old gentleman who has hard candy in their pocket. If you get licorice and not the peppermint or the mint, you're having a bad time. So I don't think if somebody gifted you licorice, you're not having a good time.
I remember being
It's
like
random.
3rd grade and my teacher would like award us with licorice. Like, if you get the answer right, you get a licorice.
Oh, that's terrible.
Everyone got the fucking answer wrong. Like, bitch, I don't want no licorice.
No wonder you dropped out of college. You see, that was a childhood trauma that came back when you were in college.
Resurfaced. I was like,
Makes sense.
licorice? Nah, fuck that.
Be very bad gifts, because essentially most people try to tell you, all right, if you receive a gift, then a gift is, you should be happy to get one. But there's some gifts that people can get and you want to return it or re-gift it. I personally have never re-gifted a gift. I've always found use for anything, but it all depends on the context. I think if you gave out, like, let's say if you were giving out checks, vacations, you were giving out like cars, well, that's on a higher scale. Maybe you get somebody clothes, video games or something, and they gift you some socks, bland socks at that. Like if you have one of those graphic sort of socks, maybe like athletic socks, that could be good. But if you get me like just regular ankle socks with no cushion support, I think that kind of sucks.
You know what? My little brother is the worst at that. So like, he's broke. He don't really be making money like that. So it's fucked up. Every Christmas, and this coming Christmas it's gonna happen, I'll get him something nice. I'll get him an iPad, Xbox, PlayStation. I'll get him some nice ass gifts, and he'll come to me with some bummy ass fucking. I remember last time he gave me a black T-shirt. No, it wasn't a good one. It wasn't like because I like black T-shirts. Like, this is a black T-shirt, but it wasn't like a Calvin Klein black T-shirt. It was like the generic name brand black T-shirts that you get for $9. Gildan. No, but. Even Gildan is a more recognizable name than whatever the fuck he got me.
Oh, good Lord.
So he got me this black T-shirt. I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, appreciate you. iPad for a black T-shirt. So
it doesn't feel like it's an even trade.
It doesn't.
Because you never should feel like you're gifting somebody for like the same level. But then it feels like, especially if you're on a consistent basis of gifting at a higher level and the other person, now even if they're not at the same price point you're at least put a little bit of effort behind it.
But then don't you feel like at some point in your life, when you become the man, no one's gonna ever compete with you.
Right. Right.
It's gonna be hard. Like for my brother to compete gift-wise with me, it's impossible. For my mom to compete gift-wise, it's impossible. Like, how would you feel? How would your brother get you a gift that you'd be like, oh, that's cool?
Oh, it would have to be something that's intentional. Because for me, I consider myself a pretty good gift giver. I'm very intentional in how I get people stuff. Like, for example, if you had a emotional moment with your family, or maybe you haven't had a painted photo of you and your family, I'd go to like Paint Your Life.
That's
this isn't
creative.
a sponsorship. I'd get you like a painted photo of yourself and your parents, or maybe yourself and a friend, or whatever the case may be. If you're a fan of, like, let's say a show or something like that, I wouldn't get you DVDs. I think that's kind of out of style. Although if you like vintage collectibles, I could get you one of those. But maybe I'll get you a some sort of like a Funko Pop or something like that, so you can have something that's there. Or maybe, tickets to a show that you may want to go see.
You're a great gift giver,
right,
bro.
like if you're a fan of Adele, well, here's 2 tickets to go see Adele in Vegas.
You're not getting
Adele
tickets. Those Adele tickets are expensive.
No, they're like $1,000 a piece.
I want
but Adele is one of those people you want to see live, because I got to go see her myself.
That's like 10 grand. Bro, I'm down. When you go, I'm down to go.
Yeah, I don't think I'd sit front row.
Want to go see Adele?
Yeah.
Because Adele moves.
Yeah.
Adele moves. She moves around when she's so
Nah,
really.
but she's not gonna go all the way the fuck up.
No, she's not gonna go all the way. I would probably, what do they call the mezzanine area?
The mezzanine.
The mezzanine area, and just be in that location, because she walks around. But I definitely want to go see Adele live.
You got to.
Yeah.
Adele's one of those that's like, we were talking about it. Adele, as a grown man, you can listen to Adele. Because as a grown man, you listen to Beyonce, it's kind of gay. Kind of gay. You're a grown man, you listen to Beyonce, kind of gay. But Adele, I jam to some Adele.
Funny enough,
straight man.
On my flight over, I was listening to Adele. I listened to the 21 album and the 30 album.
Yeah, and her body of work is so good that like, regardless of whatever period of life she's in, shit hits, bro.
Right. I remember my very first breakup. I listened to Adele while I was driving back after I broke up with her. Great time.
Pretty gay too.
Yeah. No, because it was on the playlist. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm listening. Like, it'd be one thing if I was driving back and I had like the tears going. I'm like, oh man, this is good. Like, I was having a good time. It wasn't like I was heartbroken. I was living all right. Life was good.
But yeah, I'd be jamming to some Adele, and it's crazy because there's like, it just fucking, you feel it, bro.
Right. Because she can sing. She can
sing. She can, so yeah, Adele's one of those things, but it's cool because I always see Adele covers. I'm like, this is fire. Mm-hmm. Fire. Yeah, we got to see Adele. Adele tickets. Best gift, Adele tickets. Worst gift, licorice.
Yeah. Get your hands on some licorice. That's not a good time. Maybe what kind of shoes would somebody not want?
Fucking New Balance.
Oh, New Balance got some good shoes. New Balance is nice. I like New Balance. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like a Nike, Adidas guy.
You like the name brand kind of shoe. I'm all about comfort. I like me some comfort.
New Balance
got some good.
Skechers.
Skechers. Skechers have been making a comeback.
Damn, bro.
Skechers has been making a comeback. They got some good, comfortable shoes. I haven't purchased a pair of Skechers in some time.
He said, don't give me no fucking Skechers.
Right.
What's some shoes that nobody wants?
Well, Zeox. Well, then again, Zeox is kind of sketchy.
I know what a Zeox is.
Wheelies? Maybe the Wheelies where you can...
Nah, those are hard. I'm sorry.
Oh, those are hard. Wait, so Skechers is bad, but Wheelies is good?
Yeah, because you have that wheel, you got that glide, that smooth, like...
Well, if you live in a very hilly location, it's not a good time because you're going downhill, you got some wheelies, you never had a pair before. You got a car accident, you don't even got no vehicle. It's not
some shoes. I don't know. I just feel like, this is the way I see it. I think you were right. If you put your heart and soul into it, I think it hits. I think the issue with gift giving is people don't put enough thought into it.
Right.
And the way it works with gifts, the more money you have, the less thought you put into it.
Right, because you would assume, all right, I'll just get something expensive and that should probably cover the cost. But I think that's where you have to be intentional when you get people gifts. But given that it is indeed the holiday season, Thanksgiving at the time of this release of this episode will have been over. I'm very curious, what would you consider like a worse Thanksgiving for you? You have any sort of experience, like a bad Thanksgiving?
Nah, bro, I'm kind of like you when it comes to holidays. Like, I really like Christmases. I really like Halloweens. I like the ones that are like, so there's different things for different holidays, right? If we're going to go through like all the holidays of the year, starting on Halloween's fun because you get to be a thought. I used to be a thought in Halloween. I used to be shirtless no matter what. Thanksgiving was cool because you get to spend time with family.
Wait, so shirtlessness makes you a thought?
Well, like, I'm a thought. There's thoughts everywhere else. Now that I'm married, like, Halloween loses its appeal. I'm like, it's like, okay, cool, whatever. Give away candy. But when you're a single guy, Halloween's fun because it's like, you get to party.
Well, you can still party as a married man. The conclusion of the party is a little different.
It's like sexy time.
Okay.
Halloween's like sexy time holiday. And then you have like Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is cool because it's family time. But for me, because of the
she's delivering you your ring. She's delivering you your ring. He said, "Hey, you are a married man. Why don't you let the people know?"
But now Thanksgiving is cool, but because of like the business I'm in, online marketing, it's just a shit show because Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So like Thanksgiving, anytime we would do Thanksgiving, even if it was, I'll go to LA, my mom's house, I'm fucking working.
Right.
We have dinner and so while everyone's going and drinking, having fun, I'm literally at the computer like clicking buttons.
Isn't that funny how the transition of that changes from when you weren't a business owner and you were younger to now you're a business owner? Like, all right, the holidays come around. You can't really enjoy it with the family because now the back end of business comes into play. Right. So I guess when you do sell, your company for $100 million, maybe you can revert back to, the childhood phase of being able to enjoy it. But at the same time, would you be able to make that transition?
No, because I feel like it's one of those things where it's free money. Why you say no to free money? If I know I can make $50,000 to $100,000 these next 3 days, right? Black Friday through Cyber Monday. Yeah. If I know I can make X amount, why would I ever not do that?
Makes sense.
So it's just another day. So Thanksgiving is cool, whatever. Family time, eat food. Christmas I love because I like cold Christmases. I don't know. We're doing Christmas in Miami this year. It's going to be interesting. I know we have this is a holiday episode.
Yeah, you got a holiday episode. You got your tree up in the background. In November. You got the Christmas tree up in November.
Listen, this is the holiday for me. So I like this because in LA, traditionally, like, it's a little bit cold. You can go to like the mountains, see some snow, walk around, have a hot coffee. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
California's the best state environment-wise because you have perfect, sunny, beautiful weather, but you can also get snow like an hour and a half away.
Interesting.
So like you can get the best of both worlds.
So there's a chill from the Pacific that comes in.
Yeah, it's just fucked because of the way that the government is running California.
Right.
It's like super socialist state. But yeah, so there's that, and then the rest of the holidays, like, they're cool. I don't know. The older I get, the less allure holidays have on me.
Yeah, I never
like
had it.
Christmas. That's the one where it's like, that's my hit.
I never had any sort of holiday allure, even any particular kind of celebratory day. I've always considered, like, even with the Hallmark holidays, I never believed in them. Like Father's Day, Mother's Day, whatever. I've always felt like you should celebrate, that
I've never celebrated
every single
Father's Day ever,
right,
so.
fair enough. I mean, you're given your situation.
Same.
Right. 5 bullets into his body, but he's still here. Nevertheless, I've never celebrated like Hallmark holidays per se, and then even the other holidays. Like, granted, a Veterans Day I understand, Memorial Day I understand. If you have
Veterans Day,
like if you have family,
if you have
people who had served, or even celebrating those who had served. Period.
Understood.
I get it. But then holiday, or I should say Thanksgiving, Christmas. Although I understand the backstory of you bringing the family together, I don't think it should take a holiday to do so. So since I was a kid, that always bothered me. It's like with funerals. You'd see family members for the first time in years. You gather because somebody passed. I feel like that shouldn't be the reasoning as to why. So me and holidays never really meshed with that, because I'm like, why? I'm only seeing you, for this set of period of time. I'd always watch the memes on like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Like, you go out for like a smoke with your cousin, or maybe you drank with like an uncle or something like that, and you have a grandiose time for this set amount of days on the 4th week of November, and then you like never see this person again for an entire year. I always found that a bit odd. So for me and holidays, we never really meshed. But I guess my experience, my lower end experience on Thanksgiving, it would probably have to be in 2007 when my dad had came out of the hospital. He had his near-death experience. That was a wild Thanksgiving. Like, I really felt like I was in the trenches kind of situation, because there was no dinner whatsoever. My mom was exhausted, rightfully so. So I didn't have any.
What did you guys do?
Dude, we were just in the house. I remember watching, I forget who played that year in 2007, but I remember just watching football, and we didn't have, I don't remember us having a turkey that year. It was just one of those, it was cold that particular Thanksgiving, and there was like no food to eat that time. So I remember, and I made a joke about it when I had first gotten on social media back in like 2016, and I made like a reenactment of it. So it was like ice cubes on the table, and like bread and watered, it was like cereal and water.
2007, so how old were you?
I was 13.
Do you feel like that affected you in any sort of way, that they programmed you to be like, you know what, Thanksgiving, maybe holidays is not that?
No, I already felt that way a little bit before, because I think the last time I had received a Christmas gift.
Yeah, he's right here.
The dog is
he's literally in the
business.
Little pocket.
I was like, where did he?
You couldn't find where he was?
Yeah, I was like, I thought he ran because I opened the door. I thought he escaped. Okay.
Makes sense. Deliver the wedding ring, lose the dog.
Take a spot.
Makes sense. And that's the cold open, the wedding ring delivery. I think that's a great opener.
That is funny.
But so I don't think it affected me, because since I was a kid, I never really was big on holidays. The last Christmas gift I ever received was my Nintendo SP in 2004. Great final gift. Great final gift, but
Damn,
I never really had a large, appreciation. I shouldn't say appreciation, but a large affinity for holidays. It never did it for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I loved it as a kid. It was like the best time of the year. It kind of lost its magic a little bit once I got jaded to the world and I realized the world's a fucked up place.
As you look down at your wedding ring.
No, but like I said, I used to love going to California and doing all that stuff. I used to love being in California and celebrating, and it sucks. The second I got pushed out of California because of like the stuff, it lost its magic, right? Because California, it's super socialist right now, bro. It sucks because and the thing is, the governor, dude's a brilliant, Gavin Newsom, dude's like brilliant. He's I don't like his policies. I don't like anything about him.
Right.
But the man can like talk. He can handle his shit. He can sway a crowd. Like, people love this guy. You know, like, he's gonna become president one day, or he's gonna run for president one day. But what he's done to California is just terrible, bro. It's super socialist. Did you hear about the president of Argentina.
Yes, I saw some clips here and there. Now,
just got
granted,
elected.
I don't know extensively information of what's going on in the country or whatever, but all I know is that he's very anti-woke, anti-left.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting. I saw you mentioned something before we had started recording about how there's going to be a good case study.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good case study because I try to tell people, right, when it comes to political ideation, I try to stay out of politics altogether.
Yeah, me too.
But I think that you have to learn from history. You have to look at like empires that have come before, like the Roman Empire. You have to look at countries in South America, countries in Europe, and look how they're run. Look at their policies and see why some countries are prosperous, some countries are not, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is just going to be another one of those things where he becomes president, he's anti-left, he's getting rid of policies already like that are wasting government funding. And if the country bounces up and people are like, oh, wow, this is working, it's just another great example of like, hey, this is how a country should be run.
Right. I think people will definitely, depending on what the result ends up being, and I think oftentimes people think, all right, you have a change in power immediately. You should see change happen. I think you have to have about 2 years, especially if there's a lot of change in policy, to start to see things go into effect. And really 2 years is on a best case scenario, because it could be 3, it could be 4, because depending on what, the people were accustomed to, now that shift has to happen. And naturally, I think when you're in a country that prioritizes more left-leaning sort of stuff, it's more predicated not necessarily on feelings, but more the everybody kind of having the same experience, which isn't reality.
Right.
So with that being the case, it's going to be very interesting to see how over the years that country has their results come out and how other countries now respond to it. Because I think, like you said, everybody looks how other countries are operating at. Like even with, if I'm not mistaken, China's in a bit of like, they have the dictatorship and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And they're performing at such a incredibly high level. I'm sure there's a ton of countries that's watching them like, hey, we should adopt that.
No, but the only reason they're performing at such a high level is because they have like full capitalism. So they have capitalism, but then at any point the government could just step in and be like, oops, sorry, this is ours.
There's a cap on it, right?
Yeah, it's not really a cap, but it's more so like, hey, you can do this, but if we say you can't, it's over for you. So that's kind of what it is. I don't know. Like I said, I like to stay out of it. I like to look at like certain things that happen. Like here's a good example, right, of what happens. Why is it that, so would you agree that the harder you work, the smarter you work, the more money you make?
Right.
So why is it that the more money you make, the more you become Republican? The more money someone makes, the more they lean towards the right.
Right, because I think it's a matter of, for one, taxes. I think that's number one, because a lot of times they say tax the rich, but despite the fact that the rich are paying, the most, and then when you start to understand the tax code, and you can leverage that towards now keeping as much money as you possibly can, it makes sense. Because think about it, if you now went from paying, let's say if you made $40,000 a year, and you had maybe 13 of that 40 now go towards taxes or whatever. You now 10x that 40,000. Now you go up to 400,000. Now immediately straight out of your pocket, you're up to 80 that's coming out your pocket. Soon enough, you're gonna look at that money coming out like, all right, wait a minute. So I'm paying these taxes, what are they going towards? Then if it goes towards policies you don't support, or it go towards things that you're not seeing I don't want to say return on your investment, but your money going towards something and it's not producing, you're going to start to ask questions like, wait a minute.
Typically the higher the taxes are, the more it means that the government's a little bit left-leaning.
Right.
And when a government's left-leaning, they take more taxes, but not only that, the policies that you're paying for tend to be like social welfare, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And at some point, it's like, damn, so I'm making a lot of money and you're incentivizing me to not make, it's almost like you incentivize people to not make money.
Yeah, and you penalize those who make more. But then, and then even at the same time, because when I was young, I experienced this with like learning about charity or whatever. Because of course, my family being Haitian, when the earthquake happened in 2010, the Clinton Foundation had came out or generated $500 million. Or actually, I think it might have been in the billions. I forget what it was. But all I know is that they, in total, the charity, the foundation only produced 6 houses.
Yeah.
And you start to look at it like, yo, all these people donated. Where the hell did the money go? And I remember there was different isolated situations where people would, open up charities just in order to have tax breaks or whatever the case is. One of the most famous cases was Lamar Odom's family, where they opened up the foundation only to find out that the family was just siphoning all of that money. And despite the fact that Lamar was able to get those tax breaks and he kind of had his hands off, he had no clue what was happening, and then you get penalized in the end run. So for me, as I ascend, I would much rather tangibly be able to go and help people myself than have to set up some sort of foundation or maybe donate to these charities or whatever, because where is this money really going?
Facts.
So that's one of the biggest things that I think down the line, as people continue to make more money, they end up leaning more towards the right or whatever, because they're like, oh, wait a minute, I was able to make it out, I was able to make this happen. Not to say it's the old pull yourself up by the bootstraps, but you start to look at the policy like, oh, wait a minute, hold on now, I know I want to help out, but I'd rather have my own influence be able to help than to have somebody else do it for me.
It's hard because money makes everything dirty. That's what makes it really difficult. The reason I stay out of politics altogether, it's almost impossible to change human nature, and money makes everything fucking dirty.
Right, amplifies things.
So let's say I'm like, because the people that are paying taxes, let's say I'm a big business owner, right? And I say, you know what? Let's change it so that rich people get taxed more. What I would also add in there are little loopholes that I could use.
Yep.
So let's say I'm the Illuminati. I'm a billionaire, right? And there's tax code changes. They're taxing the rich. They're not really taxing the rich. It's all fucking like performatory.
Yeah.
They're all doing that to show, like, if I'm a politician, I'm like, we're gonna tax the rich more. Meanwhile, I have all these rich friends that are giving me money. I'm like, don't worry. Like, let's say you're funding me. I'm a politician. You're funding me. I'm like, yo, Dave, I'm gonna tax the rich so I get votes. But like, in reality, we're gonna put this loophole here so that if you invest this money into real estate, it doesn't get taxed. So don't worry, I got you. Or if this money comes from this specific thing, charity, you don't get taxed. So don't worry, I got you. Now I'm over here like, yo, I'm gonna tax the rich, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. In reality, I'm rich, I have all my rich friends, we're just using tax loopholes. And the only thing we're doing now is like just changing the policy for the worse.
Right. And if you're in the middle class, you're the person who ends up getting fucked. It's just performative art.
Exactly.
And I think Dave Chappelle definitely, he had a great joke about it when he was talking about the 2016 election debate when Hillary had called out Trump for using all these tax loopholes and these tax blocks. Oh, release your papers. He's like, all right, cool. I'll do it when your friends do. I use the same ones that your friends do.
Yeah.
And in front of the entire world, exposed the fact that hey, we do have these tax loopholes and everything. And like I said earlier, if you start to really look into the tax code or whatever the case is, everybody has access to these, loopholes that exist. You just have to find ways to make it work for you.
And the shittiest part about that, right, is these loopholes, they only work for people that are rich.
Right.
So for people to like tax the rich, it doesn't solve anything because we just use tax loopholes.
Exactly, because if you're very knowledgeable of the game, you're able to use it to your benefit. Like even if you're on the lower end, there's some that you can get access to. Right. But on the greatest scale, the more money that you have, the more access to the loopholes you have.
A great example, right? A great example. A lot of my friends do this because they're entrepreneurs. If you buy a vehicle, if you own a business, and businesses get more tax loopholes than regular people. 100%. If you are a business owner, and you purchase a vehicle that's over 6,000 pounds, I think it's 3 tons.
Yep, section 179, I believe.
So that's one too. You literally write off the car.
Yep.
So it's a tax write-off, essentially. So that being said, broke people are not, let's say everyone's buying a fucking G-Wagon for this reason, because it's over 6,000 pounds,
because it's over 6,000.
I want to buy a G-Wagon. All these people that are broke, they can't use this tax loophole. They're not going to get a free G-Wagon out of it, but the rich people are like, oh, I could do this. They buy a G-Wagon. They get a tax break. Now the people that are broke are paying their fair share. Meanwhile, the rich people, they don't care.
Yeah, you find ways to make it work. Because even if you're able to find a vehicle that's over the 6,000 pound, but then you have to make sure that you're in a position to where you can facilitate, that, because there's some people who didn't have money, like they saw the trending on Instagram, everybody's buying these G-Wagons. Okay, cool. If I just take my money and I can finance it, but if you can't afford it, that's a bad move. 100%. Make sure you're in a position to where you can facilitate it and it makes sense, because it doesn't have to be a G-Wagon per se, as long as you have that heavy car to where it qualifies. But it's exactly like what you said. If you're in the lower end where you can't afford that and you don't have access to that code, you have to find different ways to make stuff work. Now, if you want to go the real estate route and do the accelerated depreciation or whatever the case may be, there's a lot of different loopholes that exist. But like you said, as you ascend, you get tax strategists that are around you. You get very good CPAs that are around you. Their job is to make sure that that you save as much money as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because the easiest way to make more money is to pay less taxes.
Yeah.
So with that being the case, it's like, why would I not go and utilize these strategies?
I think what makes it tricky though is it's almost like it's inevitable. Politics is always going to become corrupt because there's always going to be money involved. And as long as people are people, like human nature exists, like since the beginning of time, there's been people that climb to the top, that are extra hardworking, that work smarter, that kind of have that it factor, right? And then there's people that, most people are just going to be lazy. So because of that, you're always going to have that like divide. It almost seems like inevitable, like no matter what, regardless of whether you get like someone on the left that's a president or someone that's on the right as a president, the person on the right, they're going to potentially help the country become more prosperous. But at what point does policy prevent just great people from rising up and shitty people from falling to the bottom?
That's why I've always stayed out of politics, because for me personally, I couldn't care less about who's in office or whatever sort of, whether it be Democrat, whether it be Republican, whether it be in the middle, the Green Party or independent, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
I'm going to get mine regardless. I refuse to let whoever's there dictate of what it is that I'm doing. Now, granted, you have to be privy to many different policies that could affect you, but at the same time, that shouldn't hinder me from trying to get to where it is that I want to go. And personally, in my opinion, and I think we talked about this way earlier in maybe like one of the first 5 episodes, is this, what bothers me the most is it's gotten to a point now where there's no right or left. It's far right or far left.
It's like
the one side hates the other side so much so to the point where, let's say if it's a Republican who's in office, the people who's on the far left, they want the country to fail just to spite, the right. If it's a left person who's in the office, the people on the far right want the country to fail to spite the left.
Polarized.
Like, we're at the end of the day, and this is primarily, about America, but truly around the world, it should be that way. If you're in a country, you should cheer for the country to prosper because you exist there. You shouldn't be overly petty to where it's like, hey, the politics that I support isn't necessarily winning or at the forefront right now, so I'm gonna be anti my country until I get what I want. Because if that's the case, where are we really going? Yeah,
it's fucked up. I think for me, and I know you like to stay out of it, I like to stay out of it too. I think lately, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, I got married, I just feel like I'm becoming more of a man in that sense. It's almost like a sense of duty. The reason I get a little bit involved now is because it's almost like a sense of duty, because people are getting fucked.
Right.
And I'm not getting fucked. Like you said, I'm gonna get mine regardless. It doesn't affect me at all.
Right.
But people are getting fucked based on stuff. So a great example, right now, as the past couple years, country hasn't been doing as well. Right? Inflation's up. Prices of everything are going up.
Yeah, everything's going up.
Let's say a gallon of milk is $10. I don't know how much it is, but I thought about this the other day. I went to a restaurant. I bought some food. Shit came out to like $60.
Yeah.
Cool, whatever, paid it. Then I got to thinking, and I'm like, man, $60. Most people are making, that's like 4 hours, 5 hours of their work for a meal.
Right.
And then you go to the grocery store, you see the price of all this shit. It's like, damn, this is expensive.
Yeah, I think a couple of months ago, like eggs were like $10 or something like that for people. Like I saw a bunch of people complaining about that. It's getting ridiculous.
So policies don't affect me. When I talk about this stuff, it doesn't affect me. I'm rich. I'm in my fucking sky castle.
Right.
I could afford anything I want. I can get food wherever I want. I can do whatever I want. But for the person that's working the 9-to-5 job, that has to go find a way to go to the grocery store and get food, what are they going to do? Right.
They end up being the ones who get fucked. Yeah.
And it almost feels like a sense of duty, because it's like, I feel like it would be selfish for me to sit here and be like, oh, I'm not ignoring whatever's happening in the world, don't care. It doesn't affect me. But now that I'm like, damn, this sucks, poor people. I almost feel bad. You almost feel like compelled to like say something or do something.
Yeah.
So it's a weird push and pull.
And what's interesting
I get
about
what you're saying. I stay out of it, but at the same time, it's like,
because you want to be able to help. And
I'm almost like a bystander. I'm watching people get fucked
right
down there, and I'm kind of like, sucks for you guys down there.
Right. And one of the most impactful stories that I experienced when I was walking with what I call him the unknown Adonis. It's like my brother, but we're not by blood, but we were both each other's first friend.
Okay.
And we were walking to a Madison Square Garden show. Maybe this had to be maybe about like 8 years ago, maybe eight or 7 years ago. And we're walking in the streets of Manhattan, and he had $21 in singles. So we're going down, and he's very, charitable or whatever the case may be. So as he sees homeless people who are there who just need something, he's giving out the dollar. And then once he makes it to the final person, he's now out of money. And I didn't have any, dollars on me at that point. He just ran out of all of them. And the final person's like, oh man, fuck you. You didn't give me anything. You gave everything to everybody else. And you want to be charitable and give back. But at one point it's like, yo, there's only so much I can give.
Right.
So then when you're watching people who are struggling, now you try to, in our case, trying to give back and educate and try to help people learn different ways. There's just some people who there's nothing you can do. There's some who you can go and help. And then there's moments in which you kind of just got to sit on your hands because you got two hands, one to help yourself, one to help somebody else. There's moments in which you got to be, a bit selfish in order to be selfless.
Right.
So it's a very unfortunate situation because I know exactly, we're right on point with it. It's like, yo, it's getting crazy, but you want to work yourself to a point where it doesn't affect you, but then you can't have your blinders on to not see it's affecting other people. You can't get that out of touch.
It's like almost like you're a bystander and you're watching it. So for me, it's hard to watch, and it sucks more because people don't know, and I hate to say this, but people are dumb. They don't know what's happening to them. They think the world's crumbling around them. They're going to their job, they're going home, they're like, oh my God, it's so expensive. Why is it getting harder to pay rent? They don't realize there's a frog getting cooked. So like, you know how a frog, if you put a frog in a pot and you put them in boiling water, they just jump out.
Right.
But if you put a frog in like regular water and you heat the pot up slowly, eventually it'll boil and the frog will never notice.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what's happening with people. It's like they see they don't know what's happening behind the scenes. People don't understand like economics or finance or politics. So they're going to the 9-to-5 job. They're going home. They're getting cooked in the pot. It's getting harder and harder for them to survive. Bills are getting more and more expensive. It's really fucked up. And I see it, I'm like, damn, there's nothing I can do really.
And I think that's probably, and this is where my conspiracy brain kicks in, why they're pushing so heavily to destroy the family. Because now you just create all of these worker bees. You have all of these people who are incredibly individualistic. You're going to work, you're in the rat race. You think, all right, well, I have all of these material possessions. I'll go and let's just say if I'm making $100,000 a year, I'll move to the state I've always wanted to live in. You live in that big city. Now you get that high-rise apartment. You're paying $4,000 to $6,000 per month. Magnificent. Now, granted, of that $100,000 that you're making, because you don't have a business, you don't access any of the loopholes, that 40% is already out of your account. So now you're really making 60. You take into account, you have to adjust now, your salary because you have to pay for your living expenses. That'll probably run you between 20 to 40, and then you have the remaining money that's there. You're not really up, although the numbers may appear to be so, and you're getting screwed on the back end, but you think this is regular. And because you're so individualistic, you're not compatible with anybody. So then you're moving through life by yourself. You're paying for all of these things. And then by the time you hit your 40s, your 50s or whatever, you haven't worked up the social skills to be able to work with somebody else. You're continuing to expend all of this money that you could have put together with somebody else to make things sustainable. It's just people are in this eternal illusion. And they don't recognize that they're getting screwed.
It's a house of cards, bro. That's what it is. It feels like a house of cards. That's what, like, at any point, people can crumble. So I don't know. Again, I like to avoid this stuff. I don't like to talk about it. We'll see how it pans out. Only time can tell. But all we can do is, like, use our voice to do all this stuff. But yeah, it's brutal because every day, like whenever I go and I stream, or because I'm very personable with my audience, so I'll talk about whatever with them. Like I'll get emails about, hey, I got this going on in life. I have this sort of, whether it could be a disease or maybe an ailment, or maybe they're struggling in school, maybe they're trying to go and get a new job, they're struggling with getting a companion, whatever the case is, and I'm talking to them about like the day-to-day and just navigating through life. I'm like, yo, if you really were to sit there and audit your life and see, wait a minute,
this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and you take a break from the rat race, you can pretty much turn a shit ton of stuff around. But because you have to earn money to maintain, whether it be your lifestyle or just live life, you kind of have to say, all right, well, I'm in the matrix. I'm just going to go and be a worker bee and just deal with whatever I can, because what's the alternative of getting out? Do I want to take that risk?
Right.
There's people who are risk takers who will do everything they can to get out, but others, I guess they look at it like, well, if I try the risk and I fail, then it's over. So why not just stay comfortable?
I think a lot of the times, though, it's just a matter of like not wanting it enough, or like not facing repercussions. Because I have a friend, I'm not going to say any names, but this dude recently, he's from back home. His bank account went negative.
Shit.
He was like negative like $600.
Okay.
He was
Overdraft.
like, fuck, bro, I'm like negative $600. And to me, I didn't realize you could do that. I was like, so if you, like, how does that work? If you go negative, and it's not a credit card, it's like, if you're negative on your bank account,
Yeah.
You owe the bank money. I'm surprised they even spotted you that much money. You know? So now it's like, how does that work? Do they, like...
They charge you a fee. They charge you a fee.
You're negative and they charge you a fee for going negative.
Yeah, they charge you a fee for going negative. Yeah, every day. Yeah, yeah.
So they fucking crush you even harder.
Right, because that's when it starts to feel like you're it's a loan shark from the bank. Because already with like credit,
they're on your motherfucking neck.
Right, they're on your neck.
Bank, and I had this woman come in. She would be like, I think she was like, yeah, like $600, almost $1,000 negative, and it was just getting worse every day. And it's like, you have to pay this off. Because like you started being negative maybe like $800, but you've let it go by a week, and now it's like these fees are killing you.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is most people have a 9-to-5 job, so it's like, fuck. Let's say you go negative and you're like, I don't get paid for another 2 weeks.
Yep. Yeah, you're fucked.
So your paycheck hits and now you're way behind.
Yeah, what you got to do is immediately transfer, because you know how they always say with the checking account you should have like I think it's 3 months or 6 months advance.
Let's say they have no money.
Yeah, but if you have no money, then you're fucked. Like your best case scenario is you try to cash it, but do something to get money in there. Because I the other day I had transferred, because I started like I never had like a savings account per se, because it was always such low fees, and then I found out about the high yield savings account and moved everything over. But in my checking account, there was a moment in which I overpaid for a bill. Like I did a double payment. I didn't realize my auto pay was set up for a day, so I did a double payment. And then ultimately, in the positive of it, when you do it for credit, they can have a credit that's there. So it's not free money, but you've already paid in advance.
Yeah.
But my account had fallen into the overdraft. They send you a notification. Thank God. I had no clue.
Right.
So for a day and a half, I hadn't noticed I was in the overdraft. So immediately, I'm like, oh shit, let me go transfer money over. But there's a lot of people who probably don't have that luxury to go and do so.
Let's say you're check to check fucking scraping along, bro.
Brutal.
And now you get hit. You don't get paid for 2 weeks. You're negative $800. So now it's fucking stacking up on you every single day.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, it's so dirty.
And it varies, because there's some places where they can charge you $50, per day.
So
other places that it could be percentage based or whatever the case is.
Think about the fucking repercussions of that. You go into the overdraft. You get hit with a fee every single day. You don't get paid for 2 weeks. You finally get paid. It's all gone.
Yeah.
Because you were in the negative. So now you have no money to survive on. What do you eat? What do you do? Is rent due? Do you get evicted? This is crazy to think about.
And there's people who's literally living this every single day.
So my thing was, though, with this guy, I was like, I wanted to help him out, because I don't know, I have a soft spot, bro. I try to help as many people as I can, especially if I know you. I was like, listen, if you go to the computer, you can edit a video for me. I'll give you $20 per video. Gives you an opportunity to get out.
Right.
Dude has not edited one video.
Oh, pain. I know that feeling.
So it's like, it's almost like, well, fucker, you're negative. Are you going to sit there and just fucking die? Or are you going to fix? It's so frustrating, because it's like, if I was broke, I'll fix it. I tell people, like, if I was broke, if I had nothing to my name, right? I lost everything, knock on wood. The first thing I would do, I would go to like all these businesses over here, these 200 businesses over there, and I would ask them who needs help with social media.
Right.
Majority of them are gonna say no. 95% of them will say no. But 10 of them will say yes. 8 of them will say yes. I don't charge them like $1,000. I'll say, yeah, I'll do it for $1,000. You know, I'll spend the entire week just fucking going, walking over to all these businesses. Hey, do you need help with social media? I can help you guys with anything. TikTok, email marketing, whatever. 200 say no, 7 say yes. I'm not making $7,000 a month, which is more than the average salary for Americans.
Right.
And I've dug myself out of that.
And even if it's on the lower scale, and you were to say, all right, cool, you'll do it for $500 a month, or you'll do it for $250, just to get something. You have to be proactive some way. Like, it's one thing if you tried everything and everything has failed. It's another thing if you realize you're in the hole, and that's how you know we're passionate about it.
Yeah.
Because it's so incredibly frustrating to see somebody who your back is against the wall, everything's going to shit, rather than do something. You're like, all right, well, I'm just going to stay here then. And you have somebody who's willing to help. Like, it's one thing if you're by yourself.
Right.
And nobody gives a fuck. And you could be a man, nobody cares. You know, it's very different. It's another thing if somebody's extending an olive branch and they say, hey, I'm willing to help you.
Yeah.
I'm throwing a ladder into this pit. Let me help you climb out. And you're like, nah, I want to be in the pit.
All you got to do is climb.
All you got to do is climb. It's like, no, I don't want to. I'm good.
They say, oh, carry me out. No, here's a ladder. Climb out. They're like, I want to get carried out. It's like, fucking A, bro.
And then what makes it worse is if you go out of your way to go help the person who doesn't want to go and actually climb out and do the work, they're going to find themselves in the exact same position before and then still looking for a handout. Because you have to find a way to do something. Like now, I've been pushing a lot with a bunch of my audience, like, hey, listen, get yourself a card, but then I educate. Like, I'm not no credit card specialist.
Right.
But I'm like, hey, you got a decent score or whatever the case is. If you could qualify, even if you get a secure card, it could buy you time.
Right.
Just buy yourself some time, but don't think it's free money. Put yourself in a position where you have an alternative that exists there, and then, you know, work your way towards getting out of the hole, but don't just stay in the fucking hole.
We talked about it too. I think if someone were just to pull you out of the hole, you don't know how to get out the hole yourself, and you're going to end up there again. So you almost have to like let them die, struggle. So
you kind of got to let them, you know,
them die.
And I think it's so important to have this conversation again at this time of year, because given it's the holiday season, everybody is surrounded by their loved ones.
Bullshit.
Right. You're blowing money on absolute tomfoolery, horse shit, you know, for lack of a better term. And you're surrounded by your family and your friends at a heightened, you know, percentage at this time of year. You'll probably see them twice, whether it be Thanksgiving, whether it be a Friendsgiving, whether it be a Christmas, or
Right.
I don't know what they call like Friendsmas, when they bring
David, can
people
you
together.
look up the percentage of people that get evicted?
Right.
Like
See
what
if you can
percentage of
find
people
that.
get evicted or get served an eviction notice?
Especially around this time. I wonder if it could be predicated
That's
around
sad,
the time.
too.
But everybody being congregated together, these are conversations that you should be having with your loved ones. Now, granted, not everybody want to talk about their situation, but if you struggling, you got a buddy that's struggling, whatever, how about y'all have a meeting of the minds and help each other get the fuck out? Like, why the fuck would you want to struggle in isolation by yourself?
Yeah, I think people are just too ashamed to admit.
A
I
lot
don't know
of
what it is, bro. It's
ego that you haven't earned, or misplaced ego.
It's sad, but I was saying this is a real statistic. Did you know, like, what is it, 70 or 80% of Americans cannot cover a $500 emergency?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Damn, son.
Most people don't even have like 6 months of savings or emergency sort of funds or whatever. Like $500 is crazy. Like I knew like 2,000 or 1,500. I did not know 500.
$500.
That's insane.
Like 80% of people can't cover a $500 emergency.
And you know, people, of course you have the like we talked about before, where you're just breaking even or whatever the case is, but that should bother you. You shouldn't be comfortable being in that position.
I think people are so beaten down. I made a video recently and I talked about how you should scare. Poverty, being poor should scare you.
It should.
It should scare you more than anything else. It should scare you more than failing in business. It should scare you more than failing in life. It should scare you more than anything, because being poor, here's real statistics. I know this because of this video that I made. Poor people are 3 times more likely to be depressed.
Yep.
What was it? Poor people live nine years less than rich people. Mm-hmm. So rich people live 9 years longer than poor people. 80% of people it's a weird number. It could be like 73. It's like one of those, but around 80% of people can't afford a $500 emergency. Mm-hmm. And 40% of marriages end due to financial reasons.
Right.
So right off the bat, one, your health is, you're depressed. So your mental health's all fucking bad. Mm-hmm. 2, your marriage is probably not gonna last if you could even find someone that you're happy marrying.
Right.
Because marriages end due to financial reasons. You're not gonna be in good health, and you're gonna die literally before someone that's rich. Why is it fair that someone that's rich gets to live longer and enjoy their life longer than someone that's poor? You know? And then the last one, it's like, you can't afford a $500 emergency. This doesn't scare people. Doesn't like for me. If I was ever in that situation, I'm like, holy fuck, I need to change my life.
Right.
If you're watching this right now, I don't know which camera we're on, but if you are watching this right now, I want this to be a wake-up call that you need to figure out to do something with your life. And I don't want the excuse. People always say, oh, all of you guys just tell us to do something with our life, but you never tell us how. Here's how. You go on the internet. You find different ways to make money. You literally look it up. How to do social media marketing, how to do e-commerce, how to become a content creator, how to become a YouTuber, etc., etc. Do your research. Because if you don't do your research, you don't want it bad enough. If you can't fucking Google search, you're never going to be successful. And you're going to be stuck in this can't afford a $500 emergency. But being poor should genuinely scare you. You should be scared of being depressed. You should be scared of having a marriage that doesn't work. You should be scared of not being able to afford a $500 emergency. You should be scared of living your life walking on fucking a tightrope.
Right.
Right? Walking on glass or walking on eggshells your entire life. It's not a way to live a life. So if you're watching this, I want this to be a wake-up call. You need to fucking do something. Because if not, the world is moving around you, and they're making it harder and harder for you to survive and live. And you need to take control of that shit.
And 100%. And just to piggyback off of that, don't think it's going to be easy. It is not easy. Right? If it was easy, everybody would have money. If it was easy, everybody would be successful. If it was easy, everybody would not be in a situation where they're living paycheck to paycheck. It's going to require work, and you have to find ways to make it work. Oh, well, you're already working 16-hour days. Great. Find a way within that 16 hours to where you can educate yourself on something that can now bring in a bit more money. Oh, well, you're working 8 hours, but you don't have any access to, the internet during the time that you're working. Great. I know you're awake for 16 to 17 hours out of the day. Find a way to allocate time towards that research and fully immerse yourself in that research to figure out ways to make more money, to figure out ways to educate yourself, to figure out ways to get yourself out of the position that you're in, because you truly don't want to be there. And here's the kicker, right? If in the event you have children or you want to have children, would you want your offspring to exist at this stage in your life? Now, let's just say you were to fast forward them to the same age you are now. Would you want them to live the way that you're living? Of course you wouldn't. You'd want their life to be so much better, so much more stress-free. So do what you can now to make that happen. Again, it's not going to be easy, but you got to be willing to do the work because the work works.
Don't trade 2 years of hard work for an entire lifetime. Like, don't trade a hard 2 years for a hard life.
Right.
And just to put this, GPT-4, David used ChatGPT to find the answer to this. Take a look. In 2016, the eviction rate was 2%, meaning 2% of people that live anywhere.
Right.
Get evicted. A little higher, 2.34. Over 200,000 Americans had to move due to eviction or foreclosure in 2022, meaning 200,000 people.
Wow.
Couldn't fucking afford anything. And that's it rose 56% from 2021 to 2022. So 2021, it was up 56% in 2022.
Jeez, Louise.
People were getting destroyed. And like I said, I see this and I feel fucking bad, and I get so angry, but it's like, who am I angry at? The world?
Right.
I can't be angry at the world. I have to be angry at the people because they're not fucking doing anything. But how can you do that to yourself and get evicted? And I can't feel bad for people that get evicted. I want to feel bad for people that get evicted, but it's hard for me to feel bad for people that get evicted when you live here in fucking America and you can literally make money doing anything.
There's always case by case basis, but then the bottom line is, again, going back to the conversation in a prior episode about accountability, you got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, all right, cool, this just happened. How do I make sure this don't happen again? Okay, you get evicted, sucks. Understand, now you got to bounce back to make sure that doesn't happen again. Get yourself a housing somewhere, whatever the case you got to do, grind, hustle, make it happen so you don't stay in that position. Because I know people who's been homeless. I know people who have been able to bounce back. I know people who's still going through it right now, but they're grinding to get out of that position. Don't get comfortable in that situation.
And I guess the last piece of this one's going to blow your mind. U.S. Census Bureau did a household survey and in February 2023, so this year, and they found out 16% of renters said they were likely to be evicted within 2 months.
Wow, 16%. That is incredible.
Thank you, David. Appreciate you.
That is incredible. 16%. That is incredible. That's an outrageous number.
So yeah, just imagine that, bro. Like living That's not any way to live.
Like, for one, you would have to live incredibly below your means, but then you would have to understand, this is where it comes back to planning. Even if you got to take a step back to take a step forward, you have to be willing to take that step back. Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses, man.
Yeah.
Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. You making $4,000 a month. Why the hell would you move into a high-rise apartment where you got to pay that $4,000 per month? Now you're just, what, you're breaking even to look good for who?
And
Like,
I always say
come
this
on,
too.
man.
It's like there's no reason that rich people should be out hustling you. Like for me, and you say, we were talking about this earlier, like I barely sleep. I'll sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. And it's not because like I'm partying or anything, but it's more so because I'll sit up, I'll catch my stride, I'll work late into the night, but then I have something to do in the morning and I'll wake up early.
Right.
So like, there's no reason why me, who has money already, should be getting less sleep than you.
Right,
or
outworking somebody who don't got it, because most people would look at the life that you've been able to create and be like, well, I could kick my feet up and relax, but you're not doing so.
Yeah.
So when you're a hustler, you'll always hustle. A lot of people, they can't figure out what their why is. You'll say, oh, well, I just want to have money so I don't have to worry about anything. Well, are you willing to do what it takes to now get that money? And when you do have that money, how do you keep that going? Because let's just say you win the lottery, you win $3 million. You know what everybody always says? I'll invest that money. If you can't, the same skill, and we talk about it ad nauseum, the same skill it takes to flip 10 into 100, to flip 100 into 1,000, to flip 1,000 into 10,000, it's the same skill. If you can't flip that $4 that you have inside your account that's, you know, you could spend without having to worry about anything, how the hell are you going to do it if you was to have a bunch of money to befall upon you? So you have to be willing to do the work. The work works. So please go do the work. I am tired of constantly coming across the holiday season. I'm seeing children cry because their parents can't provide, you know, a gift that it is that they want. Parents not being able to get stuff for their significant other or even treat themselves.
Yeah, that's sad. As a parent, how can you live with yourself, like seeing your kid not get the gift they wanted, you know?
Like, everybody struggles. Everybody has a moment, but do not stay there. Don't find comfortability in it. Find ways to pull yourself out of the situation that you're in. And that's the last message for you guys, especially here on the holiday season, because I know you're probably congregated around your family and your friends. Send it to somebody. Ignite that fire underneath their posterior to get them to go out there and put some work in. All right. But this has been episode 22.
22
of the Assiduous podcast. I am the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chisel Adonis. He is a serial entrepreneur, the Filipino Prince Tycoon, Rene Lacotte. This is We Are Assiduous.